The wind howled across the vast sun-baked savanna. Dust swirled and the grasses rippled in waves bending beneath the heat. In the distance, the shadow of a predator stalked its prey, a large, dangerous beast, a carnivorous threat to the very survival of the tribe. This was a world where life was both fragile and brutal, where every moment teetered between life and death, and survival required more than just strength. It demanded wit, unity, and the primal understanding of the world around you. The small band of Homo habilis moved quickly, their feet silent on the earth as they crouched low in the tall grasses. They had been hunting for days, tracking the herds of large antelopes that roamed the savanna. But now, as the sun began to dip low in the sky, their mission had changed. The herd had scattered, driven by an unseen force, a predator, hungry and relentless. They had to move quickly. Their survival depended on it. A young male, no more than 20 summers old, held a stone spear in his hand, the sharp edge reflecting the fading light. His eyes were wide with the fear of uncertainty, but also with determination. He had been taught the ways of his ancestors, how to hunt, how to fight, how to protect the tribe. But today, he would learn something far more valuable: how to survive. In the distance, the shadows of a giant carnivore appeared. A saber-toothed cat, its powerful frame casting an ominous silhouette as it moved with eerie stealth through the underbrush. The cat's yellow eyes gleamed as it locked onto its prey, a lone member of the tribe who had strayed too far from the safety of the group. It was the perfect opportunity for the predator. Suddenly, the sharp cry of the tribe's lookout rang out. The alarm had been raised. Run! The order was unspoken, yet understood. The tribe scattered, moving with fluidity and speed, each member instinctively taking their place in the intricate dance of survival. The young male sprinted toward the nearest rocky outcrop, his heart pounding in his chest. The saber-toothed cat was close, but he was faster. Behind him, the tribe's women and children had begun to form a defensive circle. Their weapons, sharp stone sticks and bone knives, were raised high, though their true power lay not in these tools, but in their collective will to protect one another. The young male dove into the rocky crevice just as the predator launched itself toward him. The ground shook beneath the force of the cat's landing, its claws scraping against the rocks as it struggled to regain its balance. The male could hear its heavy breathing, its growls low and threatening as it circled its prey. He gripped his stone spear tightly, watching for an opening, praying for one single opportunity. Above him, the other hunters had taken position, quietly flanking the predator from behind. They were waiting for their moment, the moment when the cat would turn its attention away from the young male even for a split second. The standoff was unbearable. Time stretched and then snapped. With a powerful roar, the saber-toothed cat lunged its teeth bared, aiming for the young male's exposed side. But the hunters were faster. The moment the predator lunged, the tribe's leader, the oldest and wisest among them, threw his spear, hitting the cat square in the side. A deep rumbling growl escaped the beast's throat as it turned toward the new threat. In that instant, the tribe sprang into action. The cat staggered, but its primal fury was far from spent. It whipped around, its razor-sharp fangs, bared eyes blazing with rage. For a moment, everything froze. The tribe, their weapons ready, faces set with resolve. The predator poised to strike blood, beginning to drench its fur. The winds howled louder, and the sun dipped lower, casting an eerie golden light over the confrontation. The tribe's leader, an experienced hunter, made the first move. He darted to the left, drawing the predator's attention, and with a grunt he hurled another spear. The saber-toothed cat twisted and swiped narrowly, missing the leader's shoulder as he ducked. The air was thick with tension, the only sounds the crash of the wind and the heartbeat of the tribe. Behind the leader, the young male. His breath ragged slowly circled, waiting for the right moment. He could hear his tribe's elders chanting, urging him forward, their faith in him unshaken. He wasn't just fighting for his life. He was fighting for their future. His people, his family needed him. The moment came swift and terrifying. The predator lunged again, this time toward the young male. Time seemed to stretch. The young male raised his spear, his hands shaking, but his mind was calm. This was the moment he had trained for. In one fluid motion, he thrust the spear forward, aiming for the saber-toothed cat's heart. The point pierced the animal's ribcage with a sickening crunch. The cat let out one final blood-curdling roar before collapsing to the ground, its body twitching in the final throes of death. The young male stood frozen, the weight of the victory, and the cost heavy on his chest. The tribe's members rushed forward, surrounding the fallen predator, ensuring it was truly no longer a threat. But there was no celebration, no cheers. They had survived barely. The leader placed a hand on the young male's shoulder, his expression solemn but proud. The battle was won, but the war against nature, against predators, would never end. The tribe's survival depended on their ability to work together, to trust each other, and to fight for one another. As the sun finally sank below the horizon, casting the savannah into darkness, the tribe gathered around their fire. The children huddled close to their mothers, their faces pale, but filled with awe at the bravery they had witnessed. The women shared stories of their own hunts, their hands busy preparing food for the night. The elders spoke in low voices, their words more of reflection than celebration. The young male, now exhausted, but filled with a sense of peace, sat at the edge of the group. His eyes, tired but determined, met those of his people. They had faced death and survived. But he knew this was only one battle in a war that had lasted for millennia. Tomorrow, they would hunt again. Tomorrow, they would face new challenges. But tonight, they could rest. Tonight, they could heal. And as the stars above blinked into existence, the tribe's bond grew stronger, unbreakable, forged in the fires of survival. As the embers of the fire flickered and the night deepened, the tribe settled into an uneasy calm. The young male leaned back against a large rock, his spear still gripped tightly in his hand. His chest rose and fell in slow, steady breaths, his mind replaying the events of the day, the fear, the adrenaline, the victory. But there was no time to linger on the past. The endless struggle was a part of life. It was the price of survival. The leader approached, his face lined with age and wisdom. He knelt beside the young male, his eyes soft but knowing. "You've done well," he said, his voice low and steady. "But remember, every victory is just a moment. Tomorrow, we face new dangers." The young male nodded understanding. There was no room for complacency in this world. The savannah was harsh, unforgiving, but it was their home, and they would fight for it. Every day. Behind them, the tribe gathered in quiet solidarity. They had witnessed the danger, the sacrifice, and the unity. They knew that life in its rawest form was fragile. But in their survival, in the way they fought side by side, there was strength. There was hope. The fires burned low, casting long shadows across the ground. The stars above, ancient and eternal, watched over them. They were not alone. They had each other. And as long as they had each other, there was a chance, however small, that they would continue to thrive. The young male stood, his heart lightened, by the leader's words. The tribe had faced death, but together they had conquered it. They would continue to do so, for they were not just survivors, they were a family bound together by the struggle, the fight, and the unbreakable will to live. As the fire dimmed, the tribe prepared for the journey ahead. They would move again, migrating with the changing seasons, hunting, gathering, and surviving. It would not be easy, but it never was. The world was a dangerous place, and they were no longer children. They had learned to fight, to adapt, to endure. And so under the vast starlit sky, the tribe stood together. The future was uncertain, but in their unity, in their courage, they had found the key to survival. For them, the struggle was never over. But tonight, they could rest. And tomorrow, they would fight again.